This year is being sponsored by Dr. Peter Hackett in memory of his beloved father. The Yotzeit is today, Yochanan ben Eliyahu, Zechreina Lavracha. The Shema should have an Aliyah, an Ali Yidna Yeshia. And also the Shir Le'ed Nishma Tzvi Dov ben Chaim Pesach. And Avram ben Mordechai David, Reuven ben Shmuel, Chana Golda bas Yaakov, Chaim ben Fege, Yeshua ben Shmuel, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Zalman Levi ben Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, and Elimelech ben Levi Yitzchak. The Neshama should have an Aliyah. Today we're going to speak about Chezyon HaMovet, David. You have a copy of the paper? You don't? It's very important to see it inside, otherwise you'll think I'm hallucinating. It's important to see the paper inside. Yesterday we read Parshas Emor, where Kohanim are forbidden to come in contact with a dead person. Why are Kohanim forbidden to come in contact with a dead person? You know, in Christianity, when do they call a priest? When the person is dying. Is there a priest in the house? When a person is dying. In Judaism, when a person is dying, the priest has to take a powder. Just the opposite. Right, David? Is there a priest in the house? No, get out. By Yahadut, if a person is dying, the priest has to skedaddle. The opposite of Christianity. In Egypt, they worship the dead, the priest, the cult of the dead. Judaism is the opposite of that. Why are Kohanim prohibited from coming in contact with a dead person? Why? You ever wonder why? You never wondered why? So let's take a look at the great Rav Kook in Oret HaKodesh. Connie, you have a copy? It's important. Why are Kohanim prohibited from coming in contact with a dead person? What's the message? So the great Rav Kook writes, Chezyon HaMovet. This is Oret HaKodesh. What does Oret HaKodesh mean? The holy lights. And there's a paragraph called the Chezyon HaMovet. What does that mean, Chezyon HaMovet? Vision of death. The vision of death. It's a vision. So he says, following me, HaMovet hu Chezyon Shav. Death is a vision of falsehood. To Mosa he Shikro. The reason why a Kohen cannot come in contact with death, because death is the ultimate lie. Say what? I see a dead body there. To Mosa he Shikro. Coming in contact with a dead person makes you tamei, because it's the defilement of what? Of falsehood. Why? Ma shebnei adam korem movet. What normal people call death, Avram, I hope you have to look inside. What normal people call death, harei hu rak tikboret hachayim. It's all the increase of life. V'ta'atzematam. What people call death is only an illusion, because the person is not dead. That's just his bodysuit. The person is more alive than ever. In Olam Haba. Harei tikboret hachayim umitoch hashkiat hatahomit bekatnut. Because people are so small. Asher yetze leva adam hishkia otobo. People are conditioned to think that the human being is what? The bodysuit. Harehu mitzayer et tikboret hachayim azot. So therefore people are mitzayer. What does that mean? They fashion this increase of life bitsura madiva v'chashocha. In a sad and dark occasion, she korem movet. But it's a lie. Why is it a lie, Sonia? Because I'm not my bodysuit. You know, when I was a kid, I used to watch Casper, the Friendly Ghost. I'm dating myself. It wasn't on Shabbos. It was on Sunday. Now, even as a kid, David, you couldn't fool me. I knew Alfie, Casper, the Friendly Ghost. He was not the white sheet. I was a little kid, and I knew that Casper's not the white sheet. I knew that's only his covering. Casper was inside the white sheet, behind the white sheet. Even a kid. I wasn't a stupid kid, but I knew that. You couldn't fool me. So Rav Kook is saying that the dead body, that's not the person, that's his sheet. What are you sad about? Human nature, you should be sad. But in reality, it's a pasuk in Mishlei 31. We sing it every Friday night. Vatischak liyom achron. She laughs on her last day. It's an upside down world, Sonia, says the Gemara in Brachot. When a baby is born, the baby is crying and the relatives are laughing. When a tzaddik dies, what happens? The relatives are crying, but he's laughing. Vatischak liyom achron. Herb would always tell me that. Vatischak, she rejoices on her day of death. Who's the she? The godly soul is the shama, is feminine, right? So says Rav Kook, we've been conditioned to think that, is that all there is? David, is that all there is? No. When a person dies, he begins to live. The death of the body is the birth of the soul. But we've been conditioned to think that this is all there is. So therefore, we think that death is madiva v'chashocha, sad and dark, shu kara movet, that we call death. And we have to, but we see it that way, so we have to mourn. But from the ultimate reality, there's nothing to mourn. Therefore, when a tzaddik dies, it's called hilula. What does hilula mean? A chasana. A chasana, chatuna. When a tzaddik dies, it's called what? A wedding. Why? Reunited and it feels so good.
Where's your proof, Rabbi? Where's the proof of this?
Stay tuned. I know you're going to ask me that. How do I know? Stay tuned. We got time. When a tzaddik dies, it's a chasana because it's reunited with the boss. But we see it as a sad occasion and we have to deal with it that way. But Kohanim, they're on a higher level. They can see the truth through the sheker. Look at the next paragraph. You have that? Sharon, you have that? Mit'alim, please take it to Rabbi Yitzchak. Sharon, he'll really enjoy this. Look at the second paragraph. Mit'alim heima Kohanim mikdushosam mehakshava shikridzu. Therefore, Kohanim are forbidden because they're so holy and they can see the truth. They are forbidden to mahakshava shikrudzu. What does that mean, Rivka?
To pay attention
to this lie. Which lie? That the dead body is the human being kaput. That's a lie. She efshel mola bimenu. Kol zman shehamimshal hakozvi kol kach shoylem ba'olam. The memshal hakozvi, what does kozev mean? False. The people think that that's the human being. Right? We've been brainwashed to think that this is all there is to life, that the person is the body. Kim bahavoret hoanayim macheze hamevi et rishmei ha-ha-chata halolu el nefesh. Therefore, Kohanim are forbidden to come in contact with this false vision. Therefore, al kol nafshois meis lo yavoi. Therefore, a Kohen cannot come in contact with what? With a dead body. L'nefesh lo yatama, because death is the ultimate falsehood. Since Kohanim deal only with what? With truth. They're not deceived by what? Casper's sheet or the bodysuit. So therefore, they have to stay away from this falsehood.
So why is there tumah?
That's so. Tameh is falsehood. That idea that is there, that the person is only the body, there's nothing beyond the grave, that idea contaminates, Alfie. That idea contaminates, because it's sheker. And Kohanim, who are smarter, they're more holy, they can deal with the truth. Most of us are brainwashed. What you see is what you get. So we are permitted to come in contact with death, because we're not on that level to see the truth as clearly as what? As Kohanim.
What makes the Kohanim so much smarter?
They have this extra kedusha.
Why do they have?
They're capable of dealing with the falsehood. We are not. We're not on that level, so we have to live with derech hateva. But Kahanim, they know better, they've been trained better, and therefore they are supposed to stay away from death, which is the ultimate sheker. And Kohanim deal only with emet. And emet and sheker, Alfie, it just doesn't mix. Now, what Aaron says, how does Rav Kook know this? Every Kabbalistic idea, Sarah, has to have a source where? In the Torah. Every Talmudic statement, not every, but 99% of Talmudic statements, David, have to have a source in the Torah. Where's Rav Kook coming from? So he doesn't tell you. Because if he did, I'd be unemployed. So Baruch Hashem, he doesn't tell you. That's what I'm here, Sarah. Turn over the sheet and fasten your seatbelts. If you don't fasten your seatbelt for this, Alfie, you're going to fall off your chair. Turn over the sheet. This is Bereshis. Bereshis Gimel.
Rabbi, I don't see any seatbelts here.
Imaginary seatbelts. Bereshis Gimel. A very strange pasuk in pasuk Chav Daled. Okay? I'll wait till you get there. Pasuk Chav Daled, Rabbi Aaron. Adam and Chava sinned, right, Abraham? The aftermath, pasuk Chav Daled. Are you with me? Vayegoresh esa Adam. He drove out the human being. Vayashkein mikedem lagan Eden, and God placed east of Eden. I think they named a movie after that. Vayashkein mikedem lagan Eden. They placed east of Eden esa kruvim, those angelic beings called kruvim, veslat hacherev, and the shiny sword, hamisapechet, that turns over, lishmor, to guard, as derech eitz hachayim. Do you understand what I just said? I didn't. I didn't. What's going on? Now we have to know the Torah is not history book, Lingy. We have to know the Torah is God's GPS, God's personal system for the year 2016. What's the Torah telling me here? Vayegoresh esa Adam, God drove out the human being. They're playing my song. Vayashkein mikedem lagan Eden, and God placed east of Eden esa kruvim, these angelic beings, veslat hacherev, and a flaming sword, hamisapechet, that turns over, lishmor, to guard, as derech eitz hachayim, to guard the way to the tree of life. Shirley, I'm mixed up. What does it mean? So without the Zohar and the Talmud, we don't know what it means. But I'll tell you what the pasuk means. Look at the pasuk carefully. Vayegoresh et Adam. God drove out the human being. Vayashkein mikedem lagan Eden, and he placed east of Eden esa kruvim, these angelic beings, cherubs, veheslat hacherev. Please follow me. The word lahat, what does the word lahat mean in Hebrew? What? Lahat means an illusion. If you look at Tractate Sanhedrin 67, Alfie, the Talmud says the word lahat comes from the word bilatehem. It says the Egyptians made abracadabra bilatehem in Pashas Ve'era. The Chartumei Mitzrayim, the warlocks of Egypt, they did black magic bilatehem. Says the Talmud Sanhedrin 67, the same word lahat, the root is latehem. Lat means the root, which means it's an illusion. Death is sheker, it's an illusion. Cherev, cherev, the symbol of death, right? Sword, the symbol of death. Cherev is a lahat. Death is an illusion. Hamisapechet, when a person dies, he gets turned over. Sapechet means what? Turned over. Lishmor, to guard, as derech eitz hachayim, to guard the derech, what does derech mean? The highway to the Eitz HaChayim. What does Eitz HaChayim mean? Life after death. It's a symbol. Death is an illusion. It's lahat. But death turns over the person to the derech Eitz HaChayim. The kruvim are there to escort the person. This way your table's waiting. These keruvim are going to be our waiters. Cherev is a symbol of death. Cherev means a sword, the symbol of death. You see that, Chava? Lahat. So Gemara in Sanhedrin 67 says the word lahat means an illusion. You look it up in the dictionary, you'll see lahat loteyev, it's an illusion. Death is the ultimate illusion. Hamisapechet, what happens to the person when he dies? Hamisapechet, he gets turned over. Lishmor, to guard as derech Eitz HaChayim, the road to the tree of life. The tree of life is a metaphor for what? Life after life. So the keruvim are there. This is not a history lesson. Gan Eden represents Olam Haba. The person comes from Gan Eden. He comes down to this world, but when he dies, he gets escorted back to the derech Eitz HaChayim. That's only by passing through what? This world. Here, like Adam and Chava, like they died. They got driven out of Gan Eden. They didn't die, but they got driven out of Gan Eden in order to return to Gan Eden. That the neshama comes down here, it looks like the person dies, but that's lahat. Yehuda, what does lahat mean? It's an illusion. Hamisapeches, that turns the person over, hafuch, lishmor, where he gets guarded as derech to the road, the Eitz HaChayim. Eitz HaChayim is a metaphor for what? Olam Haba. So that's where Rav Kook is coming from. That death is the ultimate illusion. It's a falsehood. Most people cannot free themselves from what you see is what you get. Right? It looks like the person's kaput. So we have to deal with that. But Kohanim, they know better. They're on a higher level. And therefore they are commanded to what? To stay away from a dead body, which is the ultimate sheker. So this is the pasuk where Rav Kook is coming from.
But why do they have to sit shiva?
Who?
The Kohanim.
Why do the Kohanim have to sit shiva?
Right.
That's a good question. Ask a better question. How come for the 7 relatives he has to become Tameh, Rabbi Yaakov? If Kohanim have to stay away from sheker. So how come for the 7 relatives they have to become Tameh? So to answer your question, Aaron answered your question with a question. How come the Kohen Gadol cannot even become Tameh to his own mother? To his own father? Kohen Gadol is not allowed to sit shiva for his own mother and father. Because the Kohen Gadol, the big Kohana, he is so tuned into the truth, he knows there's no reason to mourn his mother or father. They're not dead. They're more alive than ever. Even regular Kohanim, Chava, they can't come in contact with a regular dead person because that's sheker. But their own 7 relatives, even though that's sheker, but that far the Torah doesn't demand of them. Because Kohanim are still human beings. They see their dead mother and father in front of them. How can you not allow them to come in contact and be batameh to them? It's sheker, but they're still human beings. They're not angels. So we put limits where they can't come in contact with a regular dead person. But their own father and mother, there they have to become tameh, because they're not on such a high level. They're still human beings, and they have emotions. How could we not allow them to come in contact with their own dead brother or sister or mother or father? So therefore, Kohanim, regular Kohanim, have to stay away from a regular dead person, but their own 7 relatives, we can't demand of them. It's too much. We're still living in a physical world, Alfie. What you see is what you get. But the big kahuna, the Kohen Gadol, Sonia, he's so tuned into the truth. He's the big kahuna, David. On his level, he knows he's not allowed to mourn for his own mother and father. Why? There's nothing to mourn about, Moshe. His mother and father are more alive than ever. 99% of the people can't relate to that. They're not expected to. But the Kohen Gadol, on his level, he has to see through all of the sheker. Even his own mother and father, he's not allowed to sit shiva. There's nothing to mourn for. But, you know, don't try this at home. That's only for the Kohen Gadol on his level. The rest of us are not on that level, and we're not allowed to act like the Kohen Gadol. It's not expected of us. You hear what's going on over here?
Rabbi?
Yes.
What about Aaron and his son?
That's right. He wasn't allowed to mourn. He wasn't allowed to mourn by Yidom Aaron.
Maybe that's why
He wasn't allowed to mourn because on his level he knows there's nothing to mourn about. That the death of the body is the birth of the neshama. The neshama is more alive now than ever. Therefore, a dead person is called a niftar. Niftar means released. Please release me, let me go. The neshama is released. Now, most of us can't relate to that. They're not expected to. So, lo yaleinu, we have to mourn. There's a mitzvah to mourn. The Rambam says if you don't mourn, you're an achzar. Why should I mourn? My parents are in a better place. Because on your level, you're not a malach, you're not a Kohen Gadol. Don't be more religious than God. So a regular person is obligated to mourn for his relatives. And even a Kohen Hedyot is obligated to mourn for his relatives. Because we're still human, and we have human emotions. The human being is made up of intellect and what? Emotion. Intellect and emotion. Yecheskel Hanavi, Avram Brook, he wasn't a high priest. Yecheskel Hanavi, his wife died. Look at the book of Yecheskel. His wife died. Connie, it is? He couldn't stop mourning. Yecheskel Hanavi, and a regular Kohen is supposed to mourn for his wife and his mother, father, son, brother, sister, daughter. So he couldn't stop mourning. And God said, calm down. Who knows better than Yecheskel Hanavi that his wife is what? In a better place. Why couldn't he stop crying? He was a Kohen Hedyot, not a Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol can't even mourn for his own wife or mother. But Yecheskel couldn't stop crying. Who knows better than Yecheskel Hanavi, one of the superstars, that his wife is in a better place? What's there to mourn about? But the human being is made up of emotion and intellect. Even though intellectually, Yecheskel Hanavi understood that what? That his wife is in a better place. She's more alive than ever. But emotionally, it still hurts. Still hurts emotionally. So therefore, a person has to express not just his intellect, but also his emotion. So Yecheskel, a regular Kohen Hedyot, has to mourn when his wife dies, or his mother or father. But the Kohen Gadol, his intellect and his emotion are what? On the same page. He has no right to mourn his dead wife or his dead mother. But that's only the big kahuna. Don't try this at home, Rivka. The Kohen Gadol, the Yochid, where he's so holy, and he sees the truth so clearly, where his intellect and his emotion are what, Alfie? On the same page. So what are you mourning about? She's much better than she was. She's not sick anymore. She doesn't have Alzheimer's anymore. She's not crippled anymore. But a regular Kohen, even Yecheskel, can't relate to that. He's not expected to. So therefore he has to mourn his 7 relatives. Versteh? What's going on over here?
Is this your interpretation of this pasuk?
Rivka, this is my interpretation. No, it's Gemara in Sanhedrin 67. Don't blame me. Sanhedrin 67. Go ahead. What?
Rabbi Soloveitchik was not known for being very emotional.
Right, but his wife died.
Mourned his wife.
Thank you, Rivka.
And then he met
When Rabbi Soloveitchik's wife died, he became so tzibrochen. In fact, the reason why he didn't make Aliyah Chava, the great Rav Soloveitchik, what a tzaddik. After the 6-Day War, this school teacher in Ramat Gan wrote him a letter. Great Rabbi, you saw the great miracles of 6-Day War. How could you remain in New York? Why don't you make Aliyah? So he could have said, I'm the greatest rabbi in America. You're just a school. What are you questioning me? He writes, you can buy the letters, it's translated in English. It's called Letters of the Rav. He writes, Es chato'ai ani maskir hayom. How he starts off? Anonymous school teacher in Ramat Gan, a lady, he wrote to him a letter. He could have said, you are asking me, the Gadol Hadar? Get lost. He writes it with such love and humbleness. He starts out, Es chato'ai ani maskir hayom. My sin I mentioned today. It's a pasuk in Miketz, right? My sin I mentioned today. I have to tell you, my dear lady, that I didn't make Aliyah. It's a sin, but believe me, that before my wife got sick, we were planning to come on Aliyah. But then she got sick with cancer, and he said her illness and her death broke me. It broke me physically and spiritually. And I just can't make the move. I'm too zerbrochen. God will have to forgive me.
He went to the cemetery every day.
The great Rav Soloveitchik, who knows better than him that his wife is in a better place?
And misses her.
Intellectually he knows, but emotionally he misses her. And therefore you have to express not just your intellect, but your emotion too. So therefore, you have to mourn. And he just couldn't make the move. Zerbrochen, he says. Physically and spiritually, God will have to forgive me. I was going to make Aliyah before she got sick. So, only the Kohen Gadol, only he is on that elevated level. Even Moshe Rabbeinu had to mourn when his wife or kids died. Moshe Rabbeinu, he wasn't a Kohen Gadol. Only the Kohen Gadol, the intellect and the emotion are what? On the same level. But no one else is expected of that, not expected of that. We're human beings. So getting back to Parshas Emor, why Kohanim are prohibited to come in contact with the dead. So I gave you Rav Kook's explanation. We're finished with the sheets now. The Ramban gives another explanation of why Kohanim are not allowed to come in contact with death. Says the Ramban, we have to come in contact with death. It's a mitzvah to bury a dead person, right? We need the reminder of death to keep us humble, says Ramban. People have to come in contact with the death. It keeps us humble. It makes us do cheshbon hanefesh. You come in contact with a dead body, you don't feel like going to the discotheque. It humbles a person. It makes them do cheshbon hanefesh. But a Kohen, says Ramban, is such a high level, doesn't need to be reminded. He doesn't need to come in contact with death. He knows to be humble. He knows to make cheshbon hanefesh, and therefore it's not necessary for him to what? Come in contact with death. A regular person needs the humbling experience, right? What does King Solomon say in Koheles, Yehuda? Better to go to the house of a mourner than to go to a chasana. You know that, Shirley? Very strange. Now, halacha l'maisa, if a person there's a mitzvah to go to a chasana, there's a mitzvah to go to a shiva call. Where do you go first? The shiva call has kadima. First. Why? Shiva call has first. Well, the Rambam says because if you have a mitzvah to do bikeh cholim or nicham avelim, which comes first? No, the Rambam doesn't agree with you, Rivka. The Rambam says that nicham avelim comes before bikeh cholim. Says the Rambam, why? Because bikeh cholim, you're doing a chesed for the living sick person. Nicham avelim, it's a chesed for the living and for the dead. The dead appreciates that you care about his relatives to come and see them. So therefore the Rambam says that nicham avelim comes not just before a chasana, but also comes before what? Bikeh cholim. Because Bikkur Cholim is a chesed for the living. A chasana is a chesed for the living. You dance at the chasana. Nicham Avelim, Moshe, is a chesed for the living and also for the dead. The neshama appreciates that you care for her relatives. It's a tufa. Chesed shelemet, it's a chesed for the living and the dead.
Most people do things because they expect to get paid back.
Right. But for the dead person, he appreciates that you're coming to see his relatives, so it's a twofer, right? Now, death is the ultimate sheker, right? Now, we know whatever God does, what? Is good. So death, it's so ugly, it's so tragic. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of death and evil? Nothing happens without God. So what's the purpose of death and evil? There's a pasuk in Nehemiah, chapter 9, Yehuda. Va'ata mechayet kulam. You, God, give life to everything. Nehemiah chapter 9. Va'ata mechayet kulam. You give life to everything. Says the Zohar, even evil has a tafkid. Now, before the Zohar, there's a pasuk in Yeshayahu 45. Yotze or ubore choshech. God says, I form light and I create darkness. Ose shalom. I make peace. Ubore ra. And I, God, create evil. Ani Hashem ose kol ele. Sarah, do you know that? God tells Isaiah 45, Ose shalom, I make peace, ubore ra, and I, God, what? Ani Hashem ose kol ele. I, God, do it all. So you want to get angry at somebody? It all comes from Him. So the question is, what's it all about? Why? Why is evil? Kulam. So the Zohar says something incredible. On this pasuk in Nehemiah 9, you give life to all. All have a tafkid, even what? Even evil. Even evil. And this idea is so powerful that the reason we blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah 100 times, Tosfos in Rosh Hashanah says, why do you blow shofar 100 times on Rosh Hashanah? Tosfos quotes a midrash, because Arafat's mother, Sisera's mother, sobbed 100 times. When she heard Sonny Boy ain't coming back, she sobbed 100 times. So therefore, Tosfos quotes a midrash in Rosh Hashanah, therefore we have to what? Blow the shofar 100 times. You understand this, Abraham? Arafat's mother cried 100 times for that low-life terrorist, so I have to blow shofar 100 times? What's it all about? Huh? Even Sisera, even Arafat is part of the scheme. It's all part of God's plan. So she sobbed 100 times for Sisera. We have to blow 100 shofar. Rosh Hashanah's Midas Hadin. We accept the din that even Arafat's mother has a scheme. Even Arafat's mother, there's a tafkid to Arafat. And we acknowledge that on the Yom Hadin. On Rosh Hashanah, we blow shofar, it's a Yom Hadin. That even somehow, even evil is part of the scheme. We don't know how. But the Zohar says, in this case, we know how. Fasten your seatbelts. There's a toyeles, even in Sisera. And we acknowledge that on Rosh Hashanah. She cried 100 times, we blow shofar 100 times to acknowledge that even evil has what? A tafkid and a purpose. And the Zohar says something incredible. Remember Sisera? Arafat, symbol of evil. She was seduced by Yael. Remember? I'm testing you, see if you're awake. He was, thank you, I'm awake. He was seduced by Yael. Remember in the book of Shoftim? Right? She tuckered him out and she gave him a Excedrin headache. Right? She made him a head shorter. She had relations more than once in order to tucker him out. He had a bad hair day after that. Sisera did. But they had relations a few times. He must have eaten a lot of Viagra and spirulina, but she gave him because they had relations 7 times. It says 7 times. You look at the psukim there. She tuckered him out, and then really tuckered him out, and then made him a head shorter. The Zohar says something incredible. That sexual encounter produced a child. That child became the great-great-great-grandfather of Rabbi Akiva. No. Yes. Says the Zohar HaKodesh. The greatest sage who ever lived, Rabbi Akiva. He comes from the illicit sexual encounter between Sisera and Yael. Couldn't God find another way to what? To bring Rabbi Akiva into the world? Yeah. We just don't know. If it wasn't for the encounter between Arafat and Yael, producing this child, the greatest sage who ever lived, Rabbi Akiva, would not have been born. Wow. Arafat, symbol of evil, Sisera, having relations with this married woman, having a child. Yet this child was the great-grandfather of Rabbi Akiva. Now it's much more than that. The Melech HaMoshiach. Who does the Melech HaMoshiach come from? Let's look at King David. Let's look at his yichus. Well, Boaz came from whom? Peretz. How was Peretz born? Huh? Tamar seduced her father-in-law. Tamar seduced on the road. Why don't we do it on the road? Remember that song? On the road again. Yehuda and Tamar. Right? Who was born? Peretz. Peretz and Zerach. Peretz happens to be the great-grandfather of Boaz. So King David's yichus on his father's side was a product of incest. To have relations with your daughter-in-law, even when the son is dead, is classic incest. The child is a mamzer. Okay, the Torah wasn't given yet. Saved by the bell. Okay? So King David's great-grandfather, Peretz, was a product of incest. Peretz, Boaz. Let's check his mother's side. Who was the Baba? The Baba Ruth. Where does Ruth come from? Moab. Moab means from father. Lot had relations with his daughter. They gave birth to a child called Moab. What does Moab mean? From my father. And that child produced what? Ruth. So the Melech HaMashiach is a product of incest, not just from the mama, but also the papa. It's a good thing King David didn't live today. Who would want to do a shidduch with him? Imagine King David goes to a shotgun. And they say, let's see your yichus, King David. Oi, a shotgun, a shotgun. King David, your Zayda, Peretz, comes from incest. Yehuda and Tamar, not nice. Your Baba Ruth also comes from incest. You can't do a shidduch. And yet, he's the Melech HaMashiach. Go figure. God tells Isaiah, my ways are not your ways, and my thoughts, don't even try to figure me out. Evil is part of the scheme. Moab, the symbol of evil. Incest. And yet, that produced the Melech HaMashiach. Wow. Couldn't King David come from a Beis Yaakov girl? Has to come from a former go-go dancer from Moab. Moab is a symbol of immorality. Moab makes Las Vegas look like a kindergarten. Moab, the symbol of sexual corruption. Who do you think Ruth was? She was a go-go dancer in Moab. I don't have to tell you what that means. And yet she became the grandmother of the Messiah. We just don't know. Even evil has a plan. Even death. It's all part of the plan. We can't see it. And God doesn't want me to see it. But it's part of the plan. And we have to know that. Nothing happens without Him. What's your question, Sonia?
How far does the mamzero go?
What?
If this child is a mamzer, how far down the generation?
Mamzer is forever. The thing is that Lot and Yehuda, they were saved by the bell. The Torah wasn't given yet.
Right.
Saved by the bell. Lucky the Torah wasn't given yet. Saved by the bell. More than that, Moshe Rabbeinu. Who are his parents? Maybe I shouldn't tell you this. You look at the book of Shemot. Amram married his Doda Yocheved. Doda. To marry a Doda is Gilead Ayot. In Jewish law, to marry your aunt is incest. Okay, saved by the bell. Keep the 7, go to heaven. But still, Moshe Rabbeinu, the giver of the law that he's going to give states that if your father marries his aunt, that's incest, the child is a mamzer. So Baruch Hashem, Moshe was born before Matan Torah. But still, couldn't God figure another way?
What about Sheva mitzvot?
That's not what a Noachite can marry his aunt. A Noachite can marry his aunt.
He can also marry his daughter.
A Noachite too, okay. But after the Torah is given, it becomes forbidden for Yidden. So it's a technicality. But isn't it strange, Avram, that the two greatest human beings on the face of the earth, Melech HaMashiach and Moshe Rabbeinu, are both a product of incest? There's got to be, what?
That was before Torah was...
Torah wasn't given, but the Avos kept the Torah before it's given. Malka. Didn't the Avos keep the Torah before it was given? Huh? Can you imagine if Amram and Yocheved were alive after Kabbalah Torah? Eze Busha. If Amram and Yocheved were still alive after Torah was given, you'd have to divorce her. You can't marry your aunt according to Jewish law. So they got married before the Torah was given. It's called saved by the bell.
Okay, but the Shvatim married their sisters.
Half sisters. A Ben Noach can do that. A Ben Noach can do that. The Shvatim lived before the Torah was given. So we see that there is a plan that even what's tamei and death and evil somehow is part of what? Of God's plan. We just can't figure it out. Why does it have to be that way? Couldn't Moshe's parents be a nice couple from Mea Shorim? Couldn't David HaMelech come from Beis Yaakov girl and a Hasidische Mishpucha? No, Dafke from incest. You don't think it's bizarre, David? There's a message there. The message is God tells Isaiah, my ways are not your ways, and my thoughts are not your thoughts. There is a plan. Things are going according to plan. Always. Not our plan, but His plan. There is a plan. When illustrate with the story of the Baal Shem Tov, if I get emotional, you'll excuse me. Chaim, you're going to hear the story from the Baal Shem Tov. If I get emotional, you'll excuse me. The Baal Shem Tov davened to Hashem. I want to know who's going to be my chavrus al olam haba. The Baal Shem Tov. He davened and he fasted. Eliyahu Navi came to him. Your chavrusa in olam haba for eternity. His name is Motel, and he lives in the sticks somewhere in the Ukraine. He gave him an address. Eliyahu Navi, he gave him an address. Hashem Tov wants to go find out who's going to be his chavrusa for eternity. So he gets Eliyahu Navi, gives him the address. His name is Motel, in this town, right? So he goes to shul, and he says, "Do you know this guy Motel?" Right? They say, Motel. There's only one Motel in this town, and he's a wood chopper. Remember Paul Bunyan? Hashem Tov is shocked. That's what they think of me in heaven? My chavrusa in Olam Haba is a wood chopper. So they point out who he is, right? They point out this mutl. Bulvan. How do I say bulvan in English? Bulvan. He looks like Charlie Atlas twice over. Point him out. Here. He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Bashenta was shocked. Abraham, this is my chavrusa Olam Haba. So maybe he's a hidden tzaddik. Who knows? Say how he davens. He davens chap davening, right? Davens fast, runs out of shul. Baal Shem Tov is shocked. Baal Shem Tov follows him. He's a wood chopper. He runs out to shul, right? With his axe. So maybe he's a hidden tzaddik. He doesn't want to show off. Baal Shem Tov follows him. Yedis Kani hides in the bushes. This guy sits down for breakfast. 3 hero sandwiches and 2 bottles of vodka. Vodka. Baal Shem Tov is shocked. This guy eats like there's no tomorrow. 3 hero sandwiches for breakfast, 2 bottles of vodka. He doesn't explode. Then he goes, he chops wood, and he says, timber, like Paul Bunyan. Baal Shem Tov is shocked. He's about to have a heart attack. This is my chavrusa in Olam Haba. That's what God thinks of me. A bulvan, who eats like there's no tomorrow. A wood chopper. So Baal Shem Tov can't control himself. He jumps out of the bushes. He says, Mutl, what's the matter with you? You eat like for 9 people. What's with you, Mutl? Huh? You're going to explode. Why do you eat so much? He says, Rebbe, I'll tell you. When I was a little boy, the Cossacks came to our village. They made a pogrom. And they dragged my father out and they burned him alive. And my father was a very skinny little man. He only made a small fire. So I promised myself that time, a little boy, I'm going to eat and eat and eat and drink. So if the Cossacks ever come to burn me, I'm going to make a big fire for Hashem. Wow. That's why I eat so much. Baal Shem Tov says, Motl, I'm not worthy to be your chavrus on Olam Haba. I'm not worthy, Motl. You're the great Baal Shem Tov. The guy looked like a bulvan, a slob, but every time he ate and he drank, he was preparing himself for what? For Kiddush Hashem. So every bite that he took, he was doing Kiddush Hashem, but people looked at him like a slob, like a nobody. But he explained, that's why I eat and drink so much. The Cossacks come to burn me, I'm not going to be a small fire like my skinny father. I'm going to make a huge fire to sanctify God's name. So we just don't know. What?
Gee, and I
we
was
just don't.
Could have said that I was going to defend my village and I was going to make a big fire with the Cossacks.
Okay, that would be even better, right? But anyway, this idea of not to judge someone negatively, this idea is actually found in the end of the parsha we read yesterday. So a person looks like a slob, you tend to put him down. Nobody knows what his motives are, why he eats so much. Nobody knows, maybe he's ill, whatever. We always have to judge someone favorably. And there's an amazing pasuk at the end of Parshas Emor. It says, V'ish ki yiten mumba mito, kasha osa kenya osa lo. The end of Parshas Emor. V'ish ki yiten mumba muso. If you want to put someone down, and you accuse someone of having a particular defect, kasha osa kenya osa lo. What does that mean? Kol ha-poisel b'mamay poisel. Says the Gemara in Kedushin, page 70, if you accuse someone else of a fault, that means you have that fault. We have a tendency to project our faults onto others. says the Baal Shem Tov before Sigmund Freud, a person has a character defect and a fault, he projects it onto others. And the classic case is Korach. Korach accused Moshe Rabbeinu of being arrogant. Connie, there was no more humble man on the face of the earth, God testifies. What a ridiculous charge that Korach accuses Moshe of being arrogant. Doesn't make any sense. But because Korach was arrogant, Moshe, he projected his defect on what? On Moshe Rabbeinu. If you have a certain mum, if you have a certain defect, you accuse somebody of a fault, that means that what? You have that fault. Go around accusing other people, you're projecting your fault on other people. Moshe was arrogant. That's what Korach said, because he was arrogant. And therefore the Baal Shem Tov says, why did God give us two eyes, Alfie? You ever wonder? Isn't one eye enough? Like, what's his name, Moshe Dayan? Why did God give us two eyes? Says the Baal Shem Tov, with one eye to see only the good in others, and the second eye to see my faults. Says Baal Shem Tov, olam hafuch. Most people see only what? The good in themselves and the fault in others. But olam hafuch, one eye is supposed to see only the good in others. Everyone has good. You're supposed to see the good in others. And the second eye, you should see what? My own faults. But the world is upside down. When it comes to me, I see only my good side. And others, you're no good. Why should you do that, says the Baal Shem Tov. Oh, thank you. You reminded me. Baal Shem Tov says, when you point a finger at somebody, try it. There are three fingers pointing back at you. Thank you, Yehuda. When you point a finger at somebody, Avram, look. There are three fingers pointing back at you. When you accuse others, you're guilty of that. That's pretty amazing, right? To see only the good in others. And only my own fault. Because the only person you can change is the guy in the mirror. So I can change myself, so I can see my own faults. But I can't change the other guy. So therefore, I should focus what? On his good side. Everyone has good. Accentuate the positive. Thank you, right? Nachon? So that's the message of Tumah, why Kohanim have to stay away from Tumah, the ultimate sheker. The Jews came out of Egypt. Egypt worshipped the cult of the dead, right? Their priests were dedicated to what? To death. That's our peace partners. Alfie, nothing has changed in 3,329 years because our peace partners, they still worship death. They worship a God of death. Anyway, Thursday afternoon we have a shir at 2 o'clock, current events in the Haftorah. Thursday at 2, current events in the Haftorah. Thank you. Yom Naim.